Hi, everybody. Welcome today. I hope you can all hear me. Thanks for everyone that's joining us today and that's going to look at our replay later. My name is Libby, and I'm here today with Francis Evans, the talented trance medium who channels Mercredan. He's just standing by, getting himself into a nice meditative state, and we'll be with you in a minute. But first of all, I just thought I'd quickly say hi and welcome, and thanks for joining us. This is our very first YouTube Live, so we're just learning the tech, so please bear with us. We do have a comment section. You can comment, give us any feedback, ask any questions. Just know that there's a slight delay, so I might not see the question straight away. And if Mercredan's busy answering other questions, then we might just pocket whatever comes up for a future YouTube Live. So yeah, we'll be doing this Tuesday and Friday mornings, New Zealand time and Australian time. And that will be around Monday and Thursday afternoons for North America, and I think late evenings for Europe. Otherwise, you can always catch us on a replay. So we're just doing a 1 month trial to start with, and if we get good feedback or if people are interested, then we'll keep going. So feel free to email us any topics or questions or conversations that you'd like to have with Mercredan today. In the future. Today we're going to talk about 2024 and what's in store, but also where we're at our sort of great awakening and the awakening phase. And yeah, we'll see what he's got to say for us. So without further ado, let's cross to Francis and see what Mercredan has in store for us today. Thank you. Over to you, Francis.
Welcome to the universal field of influence. Once again, it is my privilege and pleasure to come and spend these few moments of your time. As we have said for so long, you create your own reality. You create your experience. And every experience is created by definition, by distinctions. So, shall we say, every distinction separates one from the unity of all, and in doing so, becomes more relevant and more prevalent. So shall we say then, if you believe you are a spirit, then you exist within the realm of spirituality. If you believe you have a body, then you arrive in the physical dimension. If you believe you are an American as such, then you begin to take on all aspects of that particular viewpoint. And if you believe you are African, then likewise, everyone creates an ever-descending sets of distinctions and definitions. And that is a good place for us to begin the conversation.
Thank you, Mercredan. Thank you for being with us here again today, our very first YouTube Live. Very exciting. So today we would like to ask you, why is 2024 so significant? How is the human race tracking with the Great Awakening? And what happens if we don't wake up before the year's end?
Everything is obvious. That is the first thing to say. Humankind has arrived at a place where one of the greatest desires is freedom, and freedom from controls and, shall we say, the collapsing nature of systems that no longer provide. So individuals all over the planet are waking up to the restrictions placed upon them by external identities, external structures, and external events. And that, shall we say, has heated up the qualities and the definitions. So when one, shall we call it, is hot under the collar, then one is heated in debate, one stands opposed to others, there is a lot of friction and so on, and then you expect that your planet will not heat up. Do you understand? Everything is interconnected, interdynamic, interrelated, and interdependent. So whatever one thinks and does affects the whole. And in the same way that these definitions came into existence, the fields of influence flow outwards. So it is a point of time when the old systems of, shall we call it, domination, are no longer working to any degree. And so individuals are becoming more responsible. They are, shall we say, showing their responses and awakening to the inner qualities of creativity. So you are seeing all sorts of evidence of how that might become relevant. All sorts of inner and outer conflicts, whether that is, shall we say, military wars, but also ideological wars and so on, and individual inner conflicts. The spirit, shall we say, is somehow against the physical world. But of course, in all reality, everything is interconnected. Does this shine some sort of light on why one has arrived at this perspective and point of change? Shall we say this also, that the change is reflected in all the realms, all the fields of influence, individual, the family, the community, the society, the civilization, and the solar aspect in terms of planetary relationships, and in terms of, shall we call it, the galactic field, and beyond into the cosmic field, and so forth on. So consciousness, shall we say, is once again, shall we call it, turning over in its bed. A new realm of conscious awareness of forms is taking place. Does that answer a question?
Partly, yes. How can you tell us how we are tracking in our process of waking up across the planet?
Shall we say, in both in difficulties, and there are those who have awakened to their position within the creation. In other words, there are those involved and those observing, those that see it is a creation and they should not add their energy to the disputes and the physical conflicts. You understand? So there is an awakening, but until the whole is shifted, it is better to withdraw one's energy into one's personal creations. Then one may take, shall we say, positive actions. One can support the changing of direction and so on, or one will move into fear and support that which will attempt to hold on to the old and cause further and more greater conflicts and suffering. One does not, from this perspective, want to get involved in your politics, but you and everyone has to be aware of, shall we call it, a spiritual degree of activity that is within the political frame of reference. In other words, your individual field of influence affects, shall we call it, the national field of influence. Does that make some sort of sense?
Yeah, so just before you said that not all those are involved, there are those that are involved and then there are those that are observing. So if we don't feel that, or if we feel that we've already woken up or we're in a nice level of wakening up, I know that awakening is always continuous, but it's okay for us just to sit back and help others when the help arises.
That is accurate. When the change is coming along, shall we say, when the bus is coming along, what are you going to do at the bus stop? You have to wait for it to arrive. Are you going, shall we say, become bored and shall we scratch your name on the seat or something? Do you understand what I mean? You can be destructive while you wait, but the bus eventually will turn up on time. So, shall we say, you are watching the final stages of the great game, as it were. And the question is, who wins the game? Or do you watch the game for its activity? Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you enjoy the game? And it is irrelevant who wins it. Because one then is making oneself out of, shall we call it, the emotional input. One is not feeding the game at all. One is observing it and enjoying the final moments as it plays out. Do you follow what I'm getting at? The choice of enjoyment is always in one's own court. So shall we say, in order to enjoy something, one always has to belong and be in touch, shall we say. Then there are often it appears as if there are difficulties, but the difficulties come from conflicts within. I want to say, when you observe the conflicts, it is the end of the game. You are seeing the end point where anything will go in order to win. And in the end, what occurs does not support anything at all. So when one stays in one's higher reaches, as it were, when one stands tall as a beacon of light, as it is, one then draws to one those with similar lights or those who are attracted to that. And then you can settle down and take on the new aspects. And as you take on the new way of integrating in order to see everyone is in the same field of influence. When one fails, all fails. So shall we say, when one succeeds, the joy is universal. Does it make clear what observation is and what taking an action might become?
It does, thank you. So you've once said to us that every person on this planet must wake up. What happens? Is this going to happen? Is it inevitable? Or what happens if some don't?
It is inevitable in the longer term. There are those, shall we say, who move into the, shall we say, pass into the inner realms in order to avoid responsibility. Then they, shall we say, must be reborn, as we have talked about in the past, to clear up the old unfinished disturbances within consciousness. But in the end, all must awaken, all must arrive and see that the experience that they have is driven by their actions, by their perceptions, by their ideas, beliefs, and attitudes. They are creating their own existence. There is no way out of that.
The world is just mirroring back what they are putting out through their beliefs, attitudes, ideas.
Of course, and the definitions that they make. In other words, if you define someone as an enemy, they do not have to have done anything. But if you define them as an enemy, you are at war. And then, of course, you will take action as if they began the war. Do you understand? But already it is sitting in the framework, ready to be actioned.
Yeah. Snezana, I don't know if I've said your name right, sorry, has asked, will there be any coming events which will boost up the Great Awakening?
Of course. Shall we say then that events occur across the nature of the world at conflict, because harmonizing anything means giving up a particular set of viewpoints. So shall we say, first of all, the idea of endless growth is flawed. And so endless growth will not continue. The event then is contraction. When something has reached its maximum, then it must contract. If you breathe in, there comes a point where you are completely filled, and you cannot even hold on to it because it has to be released. So first of all, endless expansion cannot continue. And with that comes, shall we call it, the endless expansion of the financial systems of the world. So you are seeing the contraction, of course. And it is always talked about as if this is to be expected, cyclic and predictable, but in the Great Awakening, in this sense of sudden understanding of the interconnectedness of all things, there is no need any longer for the systems as they stand. Therefore, shall we say, governmental systems begin to collapse. The expansionary sense of that each and every one has, shall we say, more and more and more, when there is never a sign of enough. So you bring that into action, shall we say, when the financial system ceases to operate within that realm, and it will become evident, and it will be fast. Do you understand? A collapse is like, shall we say, a tower of bricks. If you pull out the bottom one, it will all collapse. If you pull out the middle one, it will all collapse still the same. You understand? Unless you take it down from the top and willingly do so, there will inevitably be a collapse at the bottom.
So you're saying that in the financial system, there will be inevitably be a collapse. Sorry.
Of course.
Is that globally?
Shall we say, shall we say the interactions of the global sense, but with that comes a re-evaluation within the national arena as such. So individual countries will have and need and will design new approaches that limit, shall we say, the effects on the population. You are already beginning to realize what occurs as the social coherence breaks down in every area of the world.
What was that? Can you clarify that a little bit more? Sorry.
Shall we say the social coherence? When there is coherence, there is, shall we say, a resonance between every aspect of life in that, in the, shall we call it, the national interest. Every group, every individual is within the whole, and a coherence becomes essential, and that is, shall we say, part of the Great Awakening.
Can you tell us, just to finish off, will this, I mean, we've talked about 2024 being of great significance for the Great Awakening to come to an end in terms of the first phase, the awakening phase of the shift in consciousness. Beyond 2024, so 2025, will we see things start to settle down and, you know, the inner conflict, the military wars, the ideological wars, will we see that start to calm down next year?
Of course. When there is no further support, in other words, if you do not have the money to make armaments, then who is going to fight? Nobody wants to fight. It is ideological warfare. As we have talked in the past, there were 3 world wars. The first one was for territory. The second one was for your values, your heart. And the last one that you are in is the war for your mind. And the great players are playing it out by delivering all sorts of mental persuasions and ideas, and all of it feeding into the lower chakras of life. And waking up means humankind choosing what they believe in, choosing who they listen to, choosing to review every thought, every article, every news item or anything, to ask, is it reasonable? to accept this? Or does this sound like one side is promoting ideas? That is what you are all worried about. Fakeness, fake news, fake people, fake of everything. You are brought back into your own self to awaken. That is significant for the awakening of humankind.
Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to add for us today?
Enough for today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mercredan and Francis, for being with us today. And thank you for everybody who's tuned in to listen to us live, and for those that are watching the replay. We really appreciate your support. Please, if you enjoyed today's session, hit the like button. That really does help us with the YouTube algorithms and supports Francis and I to keep creating this content. If you would like to submit any questions or topic ideas for future, we would love to hear from you. You can do that by heading to our website, channelingmercredan.com. The link is in the description, and clicking on ask a question, or typing in /ask, and you'll be able to do it there. Otherwise, email me at libby@channelingmercredan.com. And channeling has 2 L's in it because we're New Zealand based. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be back Tuesday, New Zealand and Australian time, same time, or for those that are in North America, Europe, and the rest of the world, I think that's the Monday afternoon, same time as we are now. So hopefully we'll see you then. Thank you so much, and bye for now.